Welcome back to Movie Tap. Today I will show you an American romantic survival drama film from 1980 called The Blue Lagoon. Spoiler ahead. Watch out and take care. The film tells the story of two young children marooned on a tropical island paradise in the South Pacific. With neither the guidance nor the restrictions of society, emotional and physical changes arise as they reach puberty and fall in love. In the late Victorian period, two young cousins, 9-year-old Richard, Glenn Cohen as young Richard, and 7-year-old Emmeline Lestrange, Elva Josephson as young Emmeline, and a galley cook, Paddy Button, Leo McKern, survive a shipwreck in the South Pacific and reach a lush tropical island. Paddy cares for the children and forbids them by law from going to the other side of the island, as he had found remains from bloody human sacrifices on an altar there. He also warns them against eating the deadly scarlet berries. Paddy later dies after a drunken binge. Now alone, the children go to another part of the island and rebuild their home. When Richard and Emmeline become teenagers, they begin to fall in love. The experience is stressful for them because of their lack of education on human sexuality. Emmeline is frightened by her first menstrual period. She refuses to allow Richard to inspect her for what he imagines is a wound. When Richard becomes physically attracted to Emmeline, she does not reciprocate his feelings. Richard responds to the situation by hiding from Emmeline and masturbating. The ship appears for the first time in years, but Emmeline does not light the signal fire. As a result, the ship passes by without noticing them. When Richard angrily confronts Emmeline about her failure, she asserts to Richard's disbelief that the island is their home now and that they should remain there. Emmeline secretly ventures to the forbidden side of the island and sees the altar. She associates the blood on the altar with the blood of Christ's crucifixion, concludes that the altar is God, and tries to persuade Richard to go to the other side of the island to pray with her. Richard is shocked at the idea of breaking the law, and a heated exchange ensues. Emmeline reveals that she knows about Richard's masturbation and threatens to tell her uncle Arthur about it. They throw coconuts at each other, and one coconut hits Richard on the head. Emmeline accidentally steps on a venomous stonefish. Sick and weak, she pleads with Richard to take her to God. Richard carries her to the other side of the island and places her on the altar, offering a prayer. Emmeline recovers and Richard admits his fear of losing her. After Emmeline regains her ability to walk, the two swim naked in the lagoon and then swim to shore. Still naked, Richard and Emmeline discover sexual intercourse, becoming lovers. As a result, Emmeline becomes pregnant. Months later, Richard is left alone and hears a sound from afar and goes directly to the other side of the island. One night, in hiding, he discovers a group of natives from very distant islands, performing a ritual in front of the statue as a ceremony, during which they kill a captured enemy native. Richard becomes frightened and runs away to find Emmeline. Richard and Emmeline are stunned when they feel the baby move inside her and assume that it is her stomach causing the movements. Emmeline gives birth to a baby boy, whom they name Paddy. A ship led by Richard's father, Arthur William Daniels, approaches the island and sees the family playing on the shore. When they notice the ship, Richard and Emmeline walk away instead of signaling for help, content with their lives. As they are covered in mud, their appearance is difficult to determine, and Arthur assumes that they are natives. One day, the family takes the lifeboat to visit their original home site. Richard searches for bananas, leaving Emmeline and Paddy with the boat. Emmeline does not notice when Paddy brings a branch of the scarlet berries into the boat. Emmeline and Paddy slowly drift away, and Paddy tosses one of the oars out of the boat. Unable to reach the oar, Emmeline shouts to Richard and he swims to her, followed closely by a shark. Emmeline throws the other oar at the shark, striking it and giving Richard time to get into the boat. The boat is caught in the current and drifts out to sea. After drifting for days, Richard and Emmeline awake to find Paddy eating the berries he had picked. Hopeless, Richard and Emmeline eat the berries as well, lying down to await death. A few hours later, Arthur's ship finds them. Arthur asks, "Are they dead?" The captain, Gus Mercurio, answers, "No, sir. They're asleep."